What is up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, April 20th, 2019. Isn't this a beautiful chart just above my head? Just look at it. I mean, it's a beautiful chart. It's my favorite chart. And so we're going to start on this chart in this video. The long-term Bitcoin parabolic chart. So this video, I'm really just going to mainly be, it's not even going to be that too in-depth of technical analysis. Kind of on the long term, really talking about the 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average, which you probably saw a picture of in the thumbnail. And you can see the moving averages zoomed out from the beginning. The 200 moving average, the pink line, the 50 moving average, the blue line. So we're going to talk about that because some interesting things happen when we get that beautiful moving average cross. So I'm going to give it just a couple minutes. If you're a replay viewer, feel free to go to the pinned comments in the comments below. It'll have timestamps for you if you just kind of want to go right to the charts. But right now I'm just kind of giving it a few minutes. I want to get some people in here at least on a Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Beautiful weather out if you're in East Coast. So I can't imagine there would be that many people on this live stream. But we do have some people. We've got JPal, Crypto Fire, Benjamin Baker, Tech Lords. What's up, Tech Lords? Stay at home dad. Happy Easter weekend, my brother in Christ. Happy Easter, everybody. Benjamin says, beautiful. Muhammad, what is up? Muhammad Ataki, Phil C. Dino Party says, I'm a replay viewer. Yo, you're a live viewer. You are a live viewer. There's an extreme amount of speculation going on right now. Bullish speculation because of this 50 moving average cross. And I think we can kind of jump into the video, and I'll start kind of with a couple tweets. I like to do that often. We'll start with a couple tweets, and the first one is this, because I think this will kind of give some nice foundation for what we're talking about here. I tweeted just a little bit ago. I said the biggest risk with Bitcoin is not buying it. So let me underline that and really just kind of highlight it by saying that is not financial advice, okay? That's really my opinion. It really truly is. At this point, with where Bitcoin is and its retracement, its long-term retracement, the biggest risk with Bitcoin is not buying it, right? 80+% down for this last bear market. Every time that's really happened in the past, it has proven to be a beautiful area of accumulation, right? So you've just dodged, especially if you're new in the market right now, right? You've just dodged so much risk by potentially, I don't know what you're going to end up doing if you're new, or even if you're not new and you're thinking about accumulating. We've really just gotten through so much risk with that 80% plus downside, right? That really leveled the playing field for a lot of people, especially people that have been watching Bitcoin and haven't gotten in yet. It really minimizes their long-term risk. The entry point now is less risky than it was at all-time highs, at the end of 2017. That's just a fact. We can't always speak in facts when we're doing technical analysis because so much is speculation. But the fact that we've retraced and we've gone through a bear market and we're sitting here at $5,200, $5,300 Bitcoin says a lot in terms of risk. So that's number one. That's why I believe it's more risky not buying it than buying it, right? If you have money and you can afford to lose, it's more risky to miss the boat, so to speak. That's not financial advice. Again, it's my opinion, and that's how I'm looking at it from my perspective, especially after enduring that last bear market, and especially after evaluating all the data that we've been evaluating. So my other tweet is this, and this was yesterday. Bitcoin is at an incredibly important technical area on the charts. Last time 50 moving average crossed above the 200 moving average was in 2015. This marked the end of the bear market, followed by immediate 100% gains, followed by 8,000% gains. That sounds incredibly bullish, but I just want to tell you right now, like, this hasn't happened yet, right? The 50 moving average, this pink line, which I tweeted right here, or the 50 moving average, the blue line, could get rejected at the 200 moving average. Just because we're approaching it with some nice momentum doesn't mean we're going to break it. Doesn't mean we're going to get that bullish cross that everybody's looking for. In fact, there's great potential that we might not get the cross just yet, right? We might get an initial rejection. And we actually get a picture of what that might look like if we zoom in on the last bear market, right? So I talk about the fact in that tweet, the last time we got a 50 moving average cross, this blue line above the pink line, led into some really awesome long-term gains, 8,000% long-term gains. But keep in mind, right, just, let's see, that was in October. The July before that cross, look what happened. Bitcoin had a bullish cross, but it didn't stick, right? There was still some consolidation to happen. The true bullish cross happened after that. So it's really important from a technical analysis perspective to, just because if we see a cross happen, to not just FOMO all in and say, this is it. This is the beginning of the bull market. That is not necessarily the case. You have to be extremely careful, even if we get a 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. At the same time, it's a beautiful first step, powerful first step in the right direction for Bitcoin if that does happen, right? So let's look at it, right? Because I mentioned in the tweet, last time 50 moving average crossed above 200 was in 2015. It marked the end of the bear market, which is true, followed by immediate 100% gains, followed by 8,000% gains. So I want to like talk about that and zoom in on that a little bit, right? So here is that last time 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. It's what all the cool kids are talking about these days. So why not do a video about it and talk about it? So this cross right here is what I was kind of talking about, right? So we can kind of take it from that swing low that Bitcoin bounced off of. And here's the cross right here, the 50 moving average, the blue line above the pink line. And you can see immediate 100% plus gains for Bitcoin when that happened, right? We got the cross and it happened on like October 27th. And then that month after, Bitcoin just kind of went crazy. And that could be a lot of people seeing that 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average and kind of really just jumping on board, especially because it was the second 50 moving average cross above the 200. That made it even more bullish. The fact that Bitcoin consolidated back down and then does it again, this is people, I wouldn't want to say FOMOing in, but people feeling more bullish, more confident, right? And you can see long term, if you look ahead, that marked the beginning of what was, everybody knows the story, some awesome gains for Bitcoin. So that's that. The immediate 100% gains after that 50 moving average cross. Let's zoom out on the chart. And then what I said, 8,000% gains. Well, look what happened in the coming years. We're talking to all-time high, 8,700% gains from that area. So it really paints a picture of how powerful the Bitcoin bulls can be when they step in to play, right? And that's what everybody's waiting for right now. And a really good illustration of this happening is that 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. Not only from a technical perspective and like technical analysis charts and charting, but just the long-term history of Bitcoin. And so I really want to play this into this chart that we have that I keep meaning to look what month I created this, but this chart is just a perfect chart to revisit when talking about discussing these things, namely the long-term move and flow of Bitcoin, the long-term moving average of Bitcoin. So here we go. 50 moving average cross, blue line above 200 moving average cross. So it has proved to be a very important time when that happens since the beginning of Bitcoin, right? So Let's take, for instance, 2012, 50 moving average cross above. Let me zoom in a little because I know we're like really zoomed out, but here it is, 2012, 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average, right there. Again, that proved to be the beginning of something really nice for Bitcoin, right? And if we even just take, we can take, we can put it right here when it really got the cross, right? 50 moving average cross. And then what happened leading up to that long-term all-time high back in 2013? What happened? 30%, 30,000% gains. So we have that first 50 moving average cross above 200 moving average in 2012, 30,000% gains to all-time high in 2013. And then we have, we entered a bear market after that, a correction, which is obvious. Everybody knows about that correction. And then we have Bitcoin, another final 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. And then what happened? We literally just did it. I'm just trying to plot it out in the charts for you to see. What happened? 50 moving average cross, the second one. We just said like 8,700%. There it is, 8,700%. So there it is, plotted out. This is kind of why the potential for Bitcoin to see massive gains and continuation in this parabolic trend is so strong. And this is why so many people are talking about it. It's not only because from a technical perspective, no matter what chart you're looking at, the 50 moving average above the 200 moving average is bullish on the daily chart, but historically, look what has happened at the last two times the 50 moving average cross happened above the 200 moving average. 30,000% gains, right? 2012 to 2013. 8,700% gains from 2015 to 2017, right? Now we entered our bear market, and now here we are again. We're discussing, after a long time, after kind of a grueling bear market and 80% plus losses in the markets, we're discussing the potential for continuation in this long-term trend. Before I have some fun with it, and you all know I'm very conservative, I'm careful, I'm not always just talking about upside, so we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to talk about upside, but I'd be remiss if I didn't just discuss price range to the downside, right? And a really good, we're not really digging into like the daily and the 4 hour or anything, but just a really good picture could be we get a 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average and we get a swing high, but look what happened in that last bear market. There was still consolidation and downside of 35%, right? So even as bullish as a lot of people are right now, it is so possible. It is so possible, whether it's previous swing high or a swing high a little lower, a little higher, it's so possible to be in the 3,000s again, like that. So this is a risky game. Even if we get a bullish cross, it's a risky game, and you have to anticipate things like this. So it happened, right? We already have a picture of what it looks like, the volatility of Bitcoin after a 50 moving average cross that fails. It happened in the last bear market, followed by a 50 moving average cross that succeeds, but the same thing can happen, right? We can just this could be the beginning of a consolidation phase for Bitcoin, some kind of sideways trading. We get a swing high, maybe to 6,500 or something. We get a bullish cross, but then we consolidate back down a little bit, and we're back down in the 3,000s before the bull market ensues. And it's really important. Tech Lords, thank you for the 0.0019 BTC for the LAUNCHPAD Foundation. $10.03, Tech Lords. I love you, dude. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love that sound. I just love the notification. So we have to be patient is basically what I'm saying. But now let's have some fun with it, right? Now that I did the responsible thing and I discussed the obvious risk that is in play right now, right? If you're just all out bullish right now and you're just going crazy accumulating because you're convinced, that's your own prerogative. Like, you can do whatever you want. That's not how I play. I dollar cost average in, but I bought Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin earlier today, late last night actually, but I bought it with an anticipation that we might see a swing low, right? We might see 30% losses. So in terms of the way I accumulate, I bought a little, right? And I have fiat waiting to scoop up that dip if it happens. That's my approach in the market. I think most of you know that. I don't typically buy actually when Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever is trading where it is right now, overextended from the moving averages. But the reason I did buy is looking at the 4-hour chart. There is definitely bullish potential for continued uptrend right now. And I figure why not add to my portfolio? I'm happy with my portfolio. If we go to $100,000, I'm happy, but I figured I'd squeeze in a little bit more. And that's why I bought a little bit more. But I'm absolutely anticipating a swing low where I can accumulate even more at 20% to the downside, right? 30% to the downside. It's 100% possible that could happen. But talking about this flow of Bitcoin, 50 moving average cross, the blue line above the pink line, 2012 marked the beginning of something awesome, 30,000% gains. 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average cross in 2015 marked the beginning of something awesome, 8,700% gains. Now let's see the 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average in April of 2019, right? So 2012 cross, 2015 cross, 2019 potential cross. So there's different ways you can speculate and have fun with the charts right now. For me, this is just me in my downtime. This is what I do, especially because we have so much context with the current chart, right? And this is true technical, as you see on the screen. We have Fibonacci in play. We have Fibonacci retracement in play, potentially in 2021, 2022 area that we're discussing. We have like serious technical charts. So it's easier to speculate and throw some things on the screen based around those things, right? So if we say we get a moving average cross, right, from where we are right now, we can do this most recent bounce off the 50 moving average, the blue line down here. And we can say, okay, we had 37,000% gains, that 150 moving average crossed above the 200. We had 8,700% gains that last time. So conservatively, we could say, perhaps this time, because we have noticed Bitcoin seeing massive gains, has slowed down in its insane gains. Obviously, as price gets more expensive, that's going to happen percentage-wise. So in a speculative scenario, we have 30,000% gains, right, to 8,700% gains, to now more conservatively, let's call it 2,000% gains. And you actually see how realistic it plays out on our true technical long-term parabolic chart, right? We have a potential all-time high, which I know many people are way more bullish than this chart. This is my chart of $90,000, $100,000 Bitcoin in 2020, 2021 sometime. And you can see how this storyline could potentially play out for Bitcoin, 2,000% plus gains after this next bull market ensues. Chris Guerra, 99 cents super chat. Chris, appreciate you being here, dude. Thank you for the super chat. Launchpad Foundation, baby. Thanks for coming by on a Saturday, hanging out with me, and just your support. It means a lot. So this is a speculative chart, and I hope I've underlined this video with talking enough about, how speculative it is and how much downside there still is potentially to happen, that could happen. But you can't, it's almost like you can't even, I don't know anybody that's invested in Bitcoin, no matter how conservative they are, that isn't speculating in terms of their investment rewards, right? So if you're investing in Bitcoin, especially in this bear market, the bottom of this this bear market that we've had in the last few months, you're always thinking about upside. You're always wondering how much upside could there be for my investment, right? It's just the reality of the situation. So I'm sure I'll get comments talking about, oh my goodness, you're way too bullish. You're just always talking about moon, which is not true. I know that. But you're kind of missing the point if you're trying to buy the bottom. You're investing long-term in Bitcoin, but you're not speculating where Bitcoin could potentially be. We all know Bitcoin could fail. There's potential it could go to zero one day. But if you're not speculating the upside, then I think that's kind of silly, right? In my opinion, when you look at the charts, when you look at the advancement of this technology, when you look at the adoption of this technology, and then when you pair it with how many people in this world globally are not even aware or in the Bitcoin markets, that is where this becomes true. The biggest risk with Bitcoin is not buying it. That is where it becomes true. And the reason why that's a risk to not buy it is because of the upside potential that is found in the charts that we're looking at right now. The data that we have suggests that there's actually more likelihood that Bitcoin is going to break previous all-time highs, right? However that pans out, there's a greater opportunity and chance that will happen than Bitcoin will fail. That's my opinion. And every day that Bitcoin gets this adoption, that gets this exposure in the long-term outlook of the technology, that becomes more scarce. Every day that happens, Bitcoin provides and really offers an awesome investment opportunity. And this is not investment advice. This is just me saying it's the market that we're in right now. It's true for any startup, right? The further advanced it is, the more employees it's hiring, the more funding it's getting, the more their product is advancing, the less risk there is. And that's similar to what's happening in Bitcoin right now. It's similar to what's happening in cryptocurrency right now. Litecoin is a perfect example. Hash rate at all-time high, most recently in the last couple of weeks. It's that advancement. It's that foundation that just keeps growing out and out. And as that happens, the risk becomes a little bit less, right? And so when you have that happening at the same time where you're kind of at this bottom 80%, 90% losses in the markets, it just becomes a really good timing situation from an investment standpoint. And, if you've watched or if you've been in any type of market, real estate, stocks, early stage startups, that's just a cycle of timing. So, you'll see that it's illustrated perfectly in what's happening in cryptocurrency. And that's why I'm so convinced that the timing is really good right now. Could 30% of the downside happen in the short term? Yeah. It could be Monday. The markets could be just bleeding. We could be 22% on the downside. I could be doing a video about it, talking about it, and it just wouldn't even surprise me. And if you've been around through this bear market or through the last bull market, I'm sure it wouldn't surprise you either. So, the other thing, just in this long-term chart, we have the 50 moving average cross, right? 50, the blue line crossing here in that 2012 market, leading into 30,000% gains. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm just regrouping here. And then 2015, we had the 50 moving average cross right here, leading into 8,700% gains. And then potentially we have a 50 moving average cross right here, leading into speculatively 2,000% gains. The other thing I want to talk about, because it really gives a nice picture of how Bitcoin is still seeing great growth, right? And percentage gains and all that good stuff. But the other thing I want to talk about is illustrated on this is from all-time high to potentially all-time high again. You see the gains becoming less, right? And it's kind of like an upward consolidation. And that doesn't mean we wouldn't get to a $250,000 or $500,000 Bitcoin one day. But along that trajectory, the gains get less. So it plays into our chart. So all-time high back in 2011, right? And I don't know if you can see my chart. I don't think you can. Let me move it over. It's at the bottom of my screen over here. 2011 all-time high to 2013 all-time high. And you see it charted here. I charted it on this chart, 3,600% difference to the upside, right? And then we have, and I'm pointing this out because I know I have these here, and I don't think we really talk about them that much. But then we have that 2013 all-time high to the 2017 all-time high right there. And then that is represented by 1,600% to the upside, right? So again, you see it just got slashed like in more than half, probably close to 60% or something. And then from speculative now, this most previous all-time high in 2017 to speculatively all-time high, say $90,000, you see 345% difference, right? So just because we're seeing from all-time high to all-time high to all-time high, way less in terms of percentage gains, you can see the price move of Bitcoin in a bullish pattern, like seeing ridiculous gains. So it's even actually played out here from a potentially 2021 all-time high to, I don't know what year this is, but I think it's like 2024 all-time high. 215% gains if the parabolic trend continues for Bitcoin. And we're talking almost a $300,000 Bitcoin by like 2024 or 2025. I don't know why the year is not showing. It usually does. So you see this long-term trajectory of Bitcoin. And, I don't feel like I got too far off the course, but each one of these massive gains really starts with this 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average, right? So, and that's why right now it's fun to speculate with what's going to happen next, because if you zoom in on the charts now to where we actually are, it's so close. So there's so much risk here. You have to anticipate the potential for rejection. 50 moving average rejection, that would look something like this. We get our 20, 30% to the downside. We're bouncing down here, 3,500. Here's our 50 moving average rejection. Here's a 200 moving average, kind of just chilling above the 50 moving average, right? Consolidation. It's going into June, July, August, end of summer, and then maybe the bulls step back in and we get our true 50 moving average cross. That scenario is what happened in the end of the last bear market. And I'm not sitting here saying that I think that's going to happen again. I'm just very much anticipating something like that could happen. If you've been watching the channel throughout the year or whatever, these are the types of areas where I like to buy, right? In scenarios like this, we're overextended right now from the 50 moving average. I'm anticipating a pullback, right? And I do that just because I like to buy when markets are down like a lot and bleeding. I feel more comfortable with accumulating and getting into position. So with that being said, we can go over now to the daily chart, and what I mean by that is kind of a zoomed in daily chart. We were just on the daily chart, but just some things that really have gotten me, even though we're overextended, right? And usually it's kind of like you anticipate a pullback since we've been overextended, but we've also been just kind of at a really interesting area on the daily and the 4 hour. And those are just some things I want to talk about. So here's the daily chart, number one. And I don't see a ton of people talking about this trend line here, right? That extends back to April. I've had it on my charts for a while just because it's something interesting to me. It's the story of Bitcoin coming out of a bear market, or even the story of Litecoin or whatever cryptocurrency coming out of a bear market, right? And breaking swing highs that happened in that bear market, right? So swing highs meaning lower highs. The story of Bitcoin breaking those lower highs is something that's really interesting to me. I feel like every time one of these lower highs in that bear market, for instance, this one, $7,300, or this one, $8,500, every time one of these lower highs is broken, that to me is a huge foundational clue that the long-term bulls have arrived, and a chart like this can play out way more realistically. So playing into my whole point there is this trend line, right? Because this is context, and actually it's not even April, it's literally last February, right? We have over a year now, this trend line essentially, of these swing highs. So that's why that trend line is really important to me, because all that data, I'm still waiting to start using that in our technical analysis back to the upside. But it's confluent with this trend line, meaning right now we can look at that trend line. Bitcoin's not breaking any of those swing highs right now, but what it is doing is it's playing around, and it's kind of just wrapped around that trend line, and that's important to me. And that's something I take into consideration in the technical analysis. So when we had this recent swing high, right, this was like that huge move early April, a few weeks ago, Bitcoin had, it's the first thing I just saw, right? Just resistance at that trend line, that very important trend line, resistance. And I was like, oh, what a surprise. And to me, I was kind of like, there's that swing high, rejection, right? Lower high, right? In this long-term downtrend, Bitcoin's finally consolidating nicely, but we're gonna bounce right back down. I thought we were gonna test this upper trend line in the ascending triangle way sooner. I thought we were gonna test it at least a week and a half ago, and it hasn't happened. And I'm surprised by that. I thought this rejection from this trend line was gonna bounce us back down to at least test the $4,000 area. It hasn't happened. I'm surprised how much we've been just kind of consolidating in this $5,000 area and in this upper trend line. But the more it's happened, the more short-term bullish I'm becoming. Because what it's doing, it's allowing for the speculation and the mania and the craziness to really catch on, right? And that plays into the 50 moving average approaching the 200 moving average. People are going to get bullish. Shorts are going to get scared, right? And then we could have kind of this really strong spike out of nowhere because of all of those things culminating into this situation. So, Boston, $1.99 super chat. What do you think will happen at 6K? What do I think will happen at 6K? So I was literally thinking around the $6,000 area when I was charting on the 4 hour. So when we get to the 4 hour, I'll talk about the $6,000 area. I tend to think we'll see a lot of resistance there. I just do, mainly because of this. And I said this in the last video. We're overextended from the moving averages right now, right? If all of a sudden out of nowhere we continue to $6,000, so right now we're 20% overextended. We know from technical analysis that we've done in these videos, in that 20 to 30% overextension from 50 moving average, usually we get some type of pullback. So if Bitcoin goes to $6,000 at that point, this is assuming it literally just happened like today, it's going to be around 30+% on this chart. Literally, if it happened right now, we'd be 36% overextended from the 50 moving average. When that happens, if you zoom out on the Bitcoin charts, we get a pullback, just, reeling it back into the moving average. It doesn't mean we're not going to get a continued uptrend and then we're going to see massive gains in 2 weeks from a pullback, but it just means usually when there's that much overextension, Bitcoin pulls back. So if we see $6,000, I feel like we're going to get a little bit of resistance in that area as of right now when I do this video, and we're going to come back down, right? And coming back down wouldn't be bad, especially we have this long-term trend line for context. If we see support, right? If we go to 6,000 and come back down to 5,000 and we see support right above this long-term trend line, that's incredibly bullish, right? Because then we're just making a higher high out of the bottom for Bitcoin and a higher low. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see in terms of entering a bull market, right? And that'll be a nice story in terms of this 50 moving average. We probably get a little cross and a little bit back down a little bit, and it could be a continuation of the bulls, right? So $6,000 resistance, I think, is very realistic. So going over to another tweet I did earlier today, this morning around 10:30, this is going to pivot us into the 4-hour chart. It says, the longer Bitcoin trades and defines support in this area, I see many hints of bullish Bitcoin continuation. Here is 4-hour chart. Bitcoin dancing with long-term trendline support from last April and 50 moving average on 4-hour. I do still think it's more likely we see $4,500 first. I do. Maybe I want to see $4,500 first. Maybe I want consolidation, right? I always feel more comfortable with consolidation after a little bit of overextension from these moving averages, but we'll see. I tend to lean more towards a little bit of retracement before we continue on the upside. I know many people disagree with that, but right now we're around $5,300. So 4-hour chart, Bitcoin dancing with long-term trendline support, which we just talked about on the daily. You'll see it on the 4-hour. It's in there, right? It's just wrapping around that long-term trend line. And the 50 moving average. So let's go look at it. 4-hour chart, 50 moving average. So it's just kind of like when I look at the 4-hour chart, you know, and like I was just saying on the daily chart, we got up to this area, we saw resistance, and you can see that resistance, that wick right through that long-term white trend line. We got that, and I was thinking, you know, that's our resistance area. We're bouncing back down. We're going to consolidate a little bit. Not even a bad thing. But what happened is that didn't happen. We didn't go back down. We didn't get a huge rejection. Like, obviously, we got a swing low to $4,700, but since then, all we've seen are higher lows on Bitcoin. So the more we get like this consolidation around the 50 moving average, confluent with this long-term trend line, the more I become a little bit short-term bullish. And I'm just kind of like, okay, this uptrend could continue to, say, $6,000. And what you'll see happen on the 4-hour is as time goes by, even if we bounce around a little bit here, you're going to see this 200 moving average just kind of catch up to the 50 moving average, right? And they're going to be close again. And when you get that squeezing of the moving averages, right? And you can take, for example, in March, this was happening, right? We got that squeezing of the moving averages, consolidation, Bitcoin trading nicely around the 50 moving average. What happened? Bitcoin broke out of that pattern to the upside. So the more that we get this sideways trading and this trading around the 50 moving average, and the more the 200 moving average begins to catch up, confluent with this long-term trend line, the more potential there certainly definitely is for a break to the upside, right? To test perhaps $6,000. And that's why on the short term, I'm becoming a little bit more, short-term bullish. Now, could that happen? Yes. But like I said in that tweet, I tend to think we're going to kind of revisit and go back down a little bit, at least to the 200 moving average on the 4-hour. So if you want to get an idea of where that is, it's just above the 200 moving average on the daily chart, right? So I tend to think we're going to revisit that area. I could be wrong, right? But this is the data I'm proposing to you, and you can kind of do what you will with it. I'm not sitting here telling you what to do. I know what I'm doing. Like I said, I bought a little Bitcoin in the chance that it actually does continue upwards to $6,000. Like I said, the more it trades sideways in this area, the more short-term bullish I am. So I don't mind adding to my portfolio a little bit at this time, but reserving fiats, right? It's not like I'm going all in here and just accumulating a ridiculous amount. My heavy accumulation is always down further, right? So heavy accumulation for me is especially since we're a little overextended from the 50 moving average, is down there in that area, right? Even all the way down to the upper trend line still of that ascending triangle. That's my heavy accumulation area, ready for that red day if it comes. If it doesn't come and we just moon, I'm extremely happy with my portfolio, and it is what it is. It is what it is. So that's it. That's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. But long-term zoomed out, you see the potential for gains. I know many of you would be very happy, as I would be. It would be very exciting. You kidding me? Crypto Twitter will be going crazy when a scenario like this ensues and happens. But what we do right now is, and we were just on the 4 hour, we track it on the 4 hour. We see if support holds on the very short term, and see if we can get that 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. If you weren't here when we were just talking about it, this is 2012 when we got that 50 moving average cross above 200 moving average. This is 2015, right? We're talking 30,000% gains. We're talking 8,700% gains. And speculatively, I know, I don't sit here making predictions. This is just me having fun with the charts. Speculatively playing into our charts, 2,000% gains. If this truly is something similar to the last two times we got the 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average, 2,000% gains, $90,000 Bitcoin, $100,000 Bitcoin, 2021, 2022. Speculatively. Don't hate on me because I'm throwing those numbers around, please. Here we go. There's 2024 halving. So, yeah, we're looking, that's around 2021, 2022, 3, 4. Yeah, so based on this chart, I have the 2023 as the bottom of the next bear market, everybody. So you're welcome. And obviously that's speculative. So that's it for the day. Sarah just got home. Time for me to go hang out with my beautiful wife. I know she can hear me, so I'm just kissing up. Everybody, super chatters, I appreciate you. There she is. I told you she can hear. See, any of you married guys out there are thinking about getting married.
Hi everyone.
You got to drop those little love comments, right? Don't you love it?
I do.
So that's it. Yeah, happy Easter, everybody. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thanks for coming out, hanging out on a Saturday. Haven't done a video in a few days, but I hope you have a great weekend. Again, this whole entire video is not financial advice. This is completely 100% my opinion, my perspective. Just having some fun with it. Just having some fun with the charts. Don't listen to people in the chats that say never get married. Find the love of your life and get married. Come on. It's a beautiful thing. Happy Easter. I hope you have an amazing Sunday. Christ is risen. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a huge blessing. Appreciate each and every one of you super chatters. I love you. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I will see you all in the next video. God bless.